So it's another beautiful day here in Kiambu and the Central Highlands of Kenya. And I stopped here on the roadside in this place called Red Hill. Red Hill, it's an up and coming upscale neighborhood. The people who live here are pretty wealthy because land here is pretty expensive. But the reason I stopped here is because I saw this pile of waste that's been dumped by the roadside. And this is becoming a common sight when you drive around. What we see here is palm tree waste. The people who live in wealthy neighborhoods, upscale neighborhoods like Runda, Gigiri, Kitsuru, they love palm trees. They give this air of just, I guess, a coastal air to them, and they are pretty exquisite and exotic in the way they look. But they have a limited lifespan. And what we are seeing more and more is maybe they last for, I don't know, 10, 15, 20 years, and then they have to be cleared. And then when the landscapers clear them, typically this is what they'll do. They'll come and dump them in places like this. Sometimes at the invitation of the owners of the land, but most times they'll just find a location where nobody's watching on the side of the road, and they'll just, offload their waste. I'm not sure what happened here, but this is by the roadside. This is becoming a very common sight again. These things take a long time to decompose. They are bulky. And that also means that they are not very easy to put on a farm. So a lot of times what I'm seeing is that the people who live in places like this will just end up setting this waste on fire. They let it dry and then they'll set it on fire. That's not good for the environment. It's not good for the health of the people who live in places like this. And this is a growing concern for environmental protection, for public health. It would be really good to have conversations with landscapers to ensure that there's regulation as to how landscaping waste is handled. If there was large-scale composting facilities, maybe they'd take this there and it would be composted the proper way. But right now, what we need to do is to highlight this problem, is to invite dialogue about regulation, about infrastructure, about setting up systems, and hope that as we are moving towards our urban future in Africa, which we are rapidly headed there, that it's going to be a more sustainable urban future than this. Yeah, so I drove about a kilometer down the road from where I had initially stopped to document the waste that we saw, the palm tree waste. And here it is again. So this is interesting because this pile is older. This pile has been here for a longer time. So it allows us to get a sense of how it decomposes, what happens over time. You can tell it's breaking down slowly, but the logs are still here. Pretty heavy logs. And I don't think they're good for firewood. Otherwise, they could have been long used for that. Yeah, it makes me wonder what people in other countries where there's a lot of palm trees do. Because this just seems like a waste. And it's not just waste, it's waste that is not disposed of properly. And the communities here have done well not to burn it, but it continues to just rot, release methane, and not help build our soils. So I'll be on a journey to find out more what happens in other countries where they have this kind of waste. But right now, the urban future of Kiambu includes having to accommodate this waste that's coming from wealthy neighborhoods in Nairobi. Yeah, and then I only had to walk like 50 meters from that pile and find another pile. And normally, when you start seeing a lot of these things in one place, there's a pattern. there's a formula to it. These things are not just showing up here randomly. It's either because the contractor that is taking the job to go dispose of that waste has dumped the waste here before, and they know that this is a viable option. It's a viable option because, one, they didn't get in trouble for dumping it here, either because the owners allowed them to, or because nobody saw them when they were doing this. But right now, this land is not being used. The person who owns this land, if they came and they wanted to use it, they'd have to first of all figure out what to do with all this waste. So this is again now why these connections between landscapers, property developers, and environmentalists, people who are trying to introduce regulation, or in our case, we have a lot of laws on paper. We just are not very good at enforcing those regulations to protect our environment and the health of our people. But we need more and more spaces like that, because when people come together and admit that, yes, indeed, this is a challenge, they can brainstorm and work together to see what would be alternative ways that are more sustainable of handling such waste. So on previous videos on the Green Evangelist, I've documented places like this where we have the growing challenge of dumping of construction waste in our river basins, in our valleys. Kiambu is the highlands, it's the central highlands of Kenya. So the characteristic of these central highlands is small streams that are carving through ridges, through valleys like this. Very beautiful land where food production on a small scale is still happening. They're growing fodder like napier grass for animals. But we have this. So we've talked about construction waste, and this is still happening. But it's not just construction waste. It's also all manner of waste that's coming from urban developments, from building of homes, from maintenance of estates. One of those growing challenges is landscaping waste. So at this site, you can see there's a mix of the construction waste, the green nets, cement bags. I guess that's some cables that are there, or the plastic coverings of cables and things like that, tiles, you name it. But alongside that, there's a lot of this construction, there's a lot of this landscaping waste. A lot of it is just yard waste, from trimmings, from cutting down trees. But it's also being hauled from Nairobi, and especially from like upscale neighborhoods like Runda, like Gigiri, where the UN is headquartered, or where the United Nations Environmental Program is headquartered. Soon, where more and more UN people are going to come and move in, that's where the US Embassy is. There's other neighborhoods around there, Kitsuru, Roslyn, you name it, very high-end homes. I mean, we're talking about homes that just go as much as you'd find for homes going in the West, in the US, in the UK. But they produce a lot of landscaping waste, and a lot of that landscaping waste ends up here. So this is an example of that waste. A lot of times the people who are managing the landscaping waste are the same ones managing the construction waste. So their MO, their modus operandi is to ban this waste, or try to ban it. And in fact, sometimes they like the green waste because it helps them ban the construction waste, the plastic waste. It goes vice versa. Sometimes they also get very green landscaping waste, and when they set the plastic on fire, it kind of burns along with the green waste. So this is the trend. This is what's happening to our land. This is what's happening with unchecked rapid urbanization. I'll walk up the road. There's also, this whole stretch has plenty of this going on. I think when one person starts to dump waste here, other people know that this is a place that's receptive to that, and you'll usually see like that whole area is turning into like a center for dumping. So yeah, this is along the same stretch. Came further up the road. This area is notorious. I once spoke to the man who owns this piece of land, and what he explained to me is that he's resorted to doing this business of receiving waste because he's old now, he can't till the land, and he's desperate to make a living. So people pay him to come and dump waste here. His job is to try and set it on fire and try and get rid of it. So there is almost like 24/7 smoke and smell of smoke and residue from burning of construction waste, from burning of green waste, landscaping waste that's coming from different parts of Nairobi and even some from Kiambu. So let's just take a quick tour. Yeah, so this is what I was talking about. There's a lot of not just the inorganic construction waste, there's also a lot of organic waste that is being thrown here. And the problem is that the organic waste comes mixed with all the construction waste. And so it becomes really, really, really difficult to compost it. You can't compost it if it's mixed with, tile debris like this. So yeah, you can tell we talked earlier about the palm trees. Those things are difficult to get rid of. You can tell he's been burning and burning the palm trees. He still has lots and lots of them. You can imagine just how much pollution, air pollution that releases, both particles and smoke that people inhale that's not good for their health. Yeah, so you also see a lot of these kind of trees or trunks that cannot be used for firewood. So that's why they brought them here. Occasionally they'll try and salvage some for firewood and sell it. But, yeah, hey little doggy. So yeah, the man who owns this land, he lives here with his family. It's pretty sad because he's already compromised. His health is already compromised by old age. But now, it's gonna get even worse if he keeps exposing himself, his family, to the kind of pollution that comes from burning all this waste. Yeah. So imagine that's what this is what that place looked like before. It was just bananas. It was just all manner of plants, including some weeds growing there, but they belong there. This is nature. This is part of what the landscape is supposed to be like, but not this. This is definitely not what creation was made to thrive on. So one of the things that I find to be pretty sad is that the residents of this place are a lot of times inviting the people who are doing illegal dumping to come and dump debris and waste on their land with the hopes that there'll be something in there that they can salvage. Sometimes they're just looking for stones to apply in an area like this. This is the entrance to somebody's homestead. And so there is a lot of soil, uncovered soil. And I think normally what happens is they feel like if we can get the stones and the sand, we can stabilize the soil and maybe cars can get through this place more easily. But you can tell they just don't get the stones and the sand. They get all this waste. And all this waste is difficult to get rid of. It's not easy to burn because it's also mixed with what they're trying to salvage. Yeah, you get a little bit of benefit, but you get a whole load of things that you don't want, things that are not good for your environment.